Hello and welcome, my dears. So this is the third top 50 NCRT punches, and in this lecture, I have chosen the chapter Human Reproduction. So let us start our discussion. Okay. So the first question is regarding the size of testes. If you look at your NCRT book, it is very important. All that information is easy, but it's important to remember some numerical data. One of which is the size of testes. So always remember size of testes. There are two dimensions: length and width. Length is given to be 4 to 5 centimeters, and width is given to be 2 to 3 centimeters. So this is your NCRT value, and you should remember this clearly. तो नंबर टू क्वेश्चन जो आपके पास है वो है नंबर ऑफ टेस्टिकुलर कंपार्टमेंट्स. एवरीवन नोज टेस्टिस कंटेन्स वेरियस कंपार्टमेंट्स. इफ आई ड्रॉ ए टेस्टिस हियर, these are the coverings of testes. Then inside the testes I find these various compartments in three dimensions. So 1 2 3 4 5, and likewise in three dimensions there are how many compartments? There are 250 compartments. Okay, 250 compartments. Okay, you should remember this. Okay, तो तीसरा क्वेश्चन आपसे पूछा जा रहा है नंबर ऑफ seminiferous tubules. So in these compartments you have these coiled tubules called seminiferous tubules, these red colored tubules. Okay, now the question is asking you how many seminiferous tubules are there. There are 1 to 3 per compartment. In each compartment you find 1 to 3 tubules. Okay, you always remember this. Number 4 question is asking you function of Sertoli cells. You know that inside the seminiferous tubules we have two types of cells: these immature male spermatogonia and these tall columnar Sertoli cells. Now the question is asking what is the function of Sertoli cells. Okay, these tall cells, what is the function of these cells? So everyone knows they secrete spermogenic factors, and those spermogenic factors nourish the sperms or help in maturation of sperms. Okay, so they secrete spermogenic factors. They secrete spermogenic factors for maturation of sperms. For maturation of sperms. Very important question. Question number 5. Function of interstitial cells. And you also know if there is this seminiferous tubule, another seminiferous tubule, another seminiferous tubule. In between these seminiferous tubules, you find these cells, red colored cells, which are called as interstitial cells or Leydig cells. We also call them Leydig cells. Leydig cells. Now, the question is asking what is the function of these Leydig cells. So everyone should know they secrete a hormone what you call as androgen or testosterone. So book has written androgen, which is a term for male sex steroid. So you can write testosterone, you can write androgen. Question number 6. Longest duct of males. There are various ducts of males. Like if I take, there is rete testes, there is vasa efferentia, there is epididymis, there is vasa deferentia, yeah, vas deferens, there is ejaculatory duct, there is urethra. Out of these different ducts, which is the longest duct? Everyone knows the longest duct is epididymis. Epididymis is the longest duct. Always remember. If we go to question number 7, the question number 7 asks us temperature of the scrotum, and it's a very important question. It's always 2 to 2.5 degrees less than body. And if you calculate this, you have to subtract 37. From 37 you subtract 2 and you subtract 2.5. If you subtract 2 you get 35. If you subtract 2.5 you get 34.5. So it will be 34.5 to 35. Okay, 35. Okay, let's go to next. So what we learned is this slide. We learned that the dimension of testes in length is 4 to 5 and in width is 2 to 3 centimeters. Total number of testicular compartments is 250. Number of seminiferous tubules is 1 to 3 per compartment. And Sertoli cells are very important. They secrete spermiogenic factors, very important. And interstitial or Leydig cells, what do? They secrete testosterone, or what you call as androgen. Okay. And longest duct, if you talk of longest duct, that will be your epididymis. And what is the temperature of scrotum? Okay, temperature of scrotum is 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius less than body. Okay, and let's go to next slide. Question number 8. What is the location of epididymis? It is written clearly in your book. The epididymis is located behind the testes. Okay, on the posterior surface of testes. Posterior surface of testes. Remember this thing. Location of epididymis. Posterior surface of testes. Question number 9. Terminal opening of urethra. So this is the urethra last duct. It is terminal opening. What is it called? It is called urethral meatus. Urethral meatus. Urethral meatus. Question number 10. Enlarged end of pens called glans pens is covered by loose fold of skin. What is that called? That is called as foreskin. That is called as foreskin, or there is another name that's also called as prepuce. Prepuce. So you have two names, prepuce or foreskin. Question number 11. Sugar found in seminal plasma. So seminal plasma contains a sugar which is special, which also helps us in detection of the semen somewhere. So what is that sugar? That sugar is fructose. So remember the sugar present in seminal plasma. That is what? That's fructose. Question number 12. Size of ovaries. So what is the size of ovaries? Only one size, length is given, and that length is 2 to 4 centimeters. Length. Remember, 2 to 4 centimeters. Very easy question. Question number 13. Zones of ovarian stroma. Zones of ovarian stroma. So ovary has epithelium outside, which is called germinal epithelium. Then it has this tunica albuginea connective tissue. Then it has two active zones. Then inside everything is called stroma, which has two zones, zone 1 and zone 2. This red colored whole area is stroma, and it has two zones, 1 and 2. The one is called cortex and 2 is called medulla. So there is outer cortex, which is labeled 1 here, and inner medulla, which is labeled 2 here. These are two zones of stroma. Collectively they are called stroma. So what we learned: epididymis location, posterior surface of testes. Terminal opening of urethra, it is called urethral meatus. The loose fold of skin, that is called as foreskin or prepuce on the glands. The sugar found in the plasma is seminal plasma is fructose. The size of ovaries is 2 to 4 centimeters. The zones of ovarian stroma, outer cortex and inner medulla. Very easy. Let's go to next slide. Question number 14 most probably. So question number 14 is asking you about the length of fallopian tube. So length of fallopian tube. Length of fallopian tube is about 10 to 12 centimeters. Okay? So it is 10 to 12 centimeters. 10 to 12 centimeters. Question number 15. So question number 15, what is it asking? Question number 15 is asking about the widest part of fallopian tube. There are 4 parts of fallopian tube: infundibulum, ampulla, isthmus and intramural part. Out of these, ampulla, or the second part, it is the most widest part. This fallopian tube is like this. Like this. So this is the first part, infundibulum. This is the second part, ampulla. This is the third part, isthmus, and this is the fourth part, intramural part. Ampulla is the widest part. Question number 16. Narrowest part of the fallopian tube. So narrowest part is this part number 4, which is called as isthmus. These two questions can be asked. Narrowest part of the fallopian tube is isthmus. Isthmus. Okay. So next question we have shape of uterus. It is very easy question. The shape of the uterus is inverted pear. Everyone knows how uterus is shaped. Uterus is like this. So it looks like an inverted pear. It looks like an inverted pear. Okay. Okay. Next question is about the birth canal. Question number 18. It asks birth canal is. What is birth canal actually? Birth canal is combination of two things. One is this cervix and second is this vaginal canal. So birth canal is nothing but cervix plus vaginal canal. Vaginal canal. It is collectively called birth canal. Why birth canal? Because the child passes through it during this childbirth. Question number 20. Cushion of fatty tissue covered by skin and pubic hair in females is called. That's called as mons pubis. That's called as mons pubis. That's called as mons pubis. Okay. So remember, cushion of fatty tissue covered by skin and pubic hair. That's called mons pubis. So what do we learn? Length of fallopian tube is 10 to 12 centimeters. Widest part of fallopian tube is ampulla. This what we say narrowest part of fallopian tube is isthmus. The shape of uterus, it is inverted pear. Birth canal is constituted by cervix and vaginal canal. This type now one question we forget, type of muscle in myometrium. Myometrium is the middle layer of the uterus that it contains smooth muscle which is an involuntary muscle. So smooth muscle present in the myometrium and cushion of fatty tissue covered by skin is called as mons pubis. Okay, so 20 questions. Question number 21. Membrane covering vaginal canal. So there's a membrane covering the vaginal canal which is destroyed during the first intercourse. That's called as hymen. That's called as hymen. Okay. So question number 22nd. Clitoris lies at the junction of. Very important question. It lies at the junction because you can confuse it. It lies at the junction of labia minora. So minora majora confusion can occur. You always remember it is minora. Question number 23. Number of mammary lobes. So how many each breast contains the compartments where milk is produced? So like 1, 2, 3, 4. In 3 dimensions, how many total? There are 15 to 20. So there are 15 to 20 lobes in each breast. Question number 24. Terminal duct for ampulla. So there are ducts. Initially we have ducts called mammary tubules. Then mammary tubules fused for mammary ducts. They enlarged for a mammary ampulla. And then we have the terminal ducts towards the nipple. What are these terminal ducts called? Labeled by this arrow. These are called as lactiferous ducts. Lactiferous ducts. These are called lactiferous ducts. Very important question. Question number 25. Stages of spermatogenesis. Now very important question. How many stages are there and label those. So first stage is spermatogonium. Spermatogonium. Next stage is primary spermatocyte. Next stage is secondary spermatocyte. Next stage is spermatid. And next stage is sperm. So these are the stages. Remember these, you can be asked a question about them. Question number 26. conversion of spermatids to sperm, that is this, what is it called? It is a special question asked every year. It's called spermiogenesis. Spermiogenesis. So what did we learn? Membrane covers the vagina. What is it called? Hymen. The clit lies at the junction of labia minora. Number of mammary lobes, it is 15 to 20. Terminal duct from ampulla, what is that called? That's called lactiferous duct. Stages of spermatogenesis include spermatogonium initially, then converting into spermatocyte, primary, then after meiosis 1, secondary spermatocyte, after meiosis 2, spermatid, and finally spermiogenesis leads to sperm. And the spermatid to sperm is called as spermiogenesis. Spermiogenesis. Can you guess what happens after spermiogenesis? These uh, can you guess what happens during spermatogenesis? These spermatids attach to Sertoli cells where they receive the spermiogenic factors and transform into these sperms. Question number 20, I guess it is 27. Release of sperms. There's a name given to the release of sperms into the ducts. The release of sperms is called as spermiation. Spermiation. Always remember. Now, question number 28. You might know about the structure of sperm. I may draw a rough structure here. Rough structure here. So there's a cap on this sperm, this green colored cap. What is this cap called as? It is called as acrosome. It is actually a bag of enzymes. It's formed from Golgi apparatus. It is modified Golgi apparatus, and it contains enzymes. It contains enzymes which help in penetration of the ovum. The enzymes include zona, lysine. The enzymes include uh, hyaluronidase. The enzyme includes corona penetrating enzyme, CP. Okay. So question number 29. Middle piece contains. This area is called as middle piece. It is characterized by this spirally arranged mitochondria. So middle piece contains numerous mitochondria which form a spiral. Very important question. Numerous mitochondria are present in which part of the sperm? It is the part called middle piece. Question number 29. After 29, we have question number 30. Question number 30 is asking you number of sperms per ejaculate. A male ejaculate contains total number of sperms. Average. What is the average number of sperms present in total in a male ejaculate, in one male ejaculate? So remember, always remember, it is 200 to 300. Not 200 to 300. It is 200 to 300 million. So 200 to 300 million sperms are present in uh, each ejaculate of the male. Now, if we refer to question number 31, it's asking you about criteria of fertility. So there has been a criteria has been made for uh, a male to be fertile. So after sperm examination, it is if it is found that 60% sperms have normal shape and size, and greater than 40% sperms, actually it should be greater than 40% sperms have vigorous motility, then and only then it can be said that this male is fertile and his ejaculate will be able to produce a zygote. Question number 32. Seminal plasma with sperms is called. It is a simple question. It is called semen. And question number 33, very important question. Oogenesis begins at. Why is it asked? Because spermatogenesis begins at puberty, but oogenesis is different. It begins at embryonic life. Very important question. It begins at embryonic life. ठीक है, तो क्या सीखा? स्पर्म्स की रिलीज को हम स्पर्मिएशन बोलते हैं. ये जो कैप प्रेजेंट है ग्रीन कलर की स्पर्म पे, इसको एक्रोजोम बोलते हैं। ये मॉडिफाइड गोल्गी एपरेट्स है, इसमें एंजाइम्स है लाइक जोना लाइसिन। और मिडल पीस में बहुत सारे माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया होते हैं। स्पर्म्स का अगर तादाद देखा जाए तो 200-300 होते हैं पर इजैकुलेट। और फर्टिलिटी होने के लिए 60% से ज़्यादा स्पर्म्स की नॉर्मल शेप और साइज़ होनी चाहिए, और 40% से ज़्यादा स्पर्म्स की विगरस मोटिलिटी होनी चाहिए। और सेमिनल प्लाज्मा जो है उसके साथ जब स्पर्म जोड़ देते हो आप, तो जो स्क्रीशन बनती है, वो जो टोटल सोल्यूशन बनता है, दैट्स कॉल्ड सेमेन। एंड ओजेनेसिस एक खास प्रोसेस है, ये एम्ब्रियोनिक लाइफ में ही स्टार्ट हो जाती है। इट्स डिफरेंस बिटवीन ओजेनेसिस एंड स्पर्मेटोजेनेसिस। ओके, सो लेट्स गो टू नेक्स्ट slide. Question number probably 34. 34 is a very important question. It is asking you about the number of follicles left at puberty. So in ovaries, you know that there is follicular atresia. Atresia meaning that follicles are getting degenerated. So when follicles are getting degenerated in huge numbers at puberty, you have just a fixed amount of follicles left. And what is that? That is 60,000 to 80,000 per ovary. Remember, it is 60,000 to 80,000 per ovary. 35. Follicle with antrum. So there are different types of follicles. You have primary follicles, then you get when it matures, it forms secondary follicle. When it matures further, it forms tertiary follicle. Then it forms Graafian follicle. Every follicle is characterized by its particular feature. Now, a follicle with antrum. What is antrum? Antrum is a cavity. A follicle with antrum or cavity is, that is your tertiary follicle. That is your tertiary follicle. So which follicle has antrum or fluid-filled cavity? That will be your tertiary follicle. Never ever forget. Question number 36. Mature follicle is called and is characterized by dash. So now it is asking you about mature follicle. If you have listened to me carefully, mature follicle is called as Graafian follicle. Graafian follicle. And the characteristic feature of Graafian follicle is that it contains a secondary oocyte which is obtained after completion of meiosis first. So it is characterized by secondary oocyte inside it. All the follicles before it contain primary oocyte which is arrested in the meiosis first. But in Graafian follicle, the meiosis first has completed and you have now this secondary oocyte. So going to question number 37. FSH and LH attain peak at. Now the question is regarding the menstrual cycle. So there are menstrual cycle is from day 1 to day 28. It is asking you when do FSH and LH attain peak. What is the day when their concentration is maximum? Everyone knows it is day 14 or ovulation phase, ovulatory phase of the menstrual cycle, when they attain the peak. So question number 39, what is it asking me? Progesterone is secreted by, very easy, it is secreted by, initially it is secreted by corpus luteum in the menstrual cycle. And it is secreted in which phase? This phase is called secretory phase, or it has another name, it is called luteal phase. Luteal phase, very important. Question number 40. 40 is saying menopause occurs at, it occurs at 45 to 50 years of age. Now your book has stressed on the 50 years, but it can occur anyway between 45 to 50 years. Menopause means when the oogenesis stops altogether, menstrual cycle stops altogether. Question number 41. Mitotic regions in zygote are called, there is a special name to the mitotic regions which occur in that zygote when it is passing through the fallopian tube. And what is it called? It's called cleavage. So cleavage is the name given to mitotic regions which occur in the zygote. So number of follicles left in ovary 60,000 to 80,000. And follicle with antrum, it is tertiary. Mature follicle is called Graafian follicle. So whenever you have the term mature, Graafian. And what is it containing? Characteristic feature is secondary oocyte. LH and FSH peak level. When is the peak level? It is the day 14th. And progesterone, it is secreted by corpus luteum in which phase? Secretory or luteal phase. And menopause 50 years. Mitotic divisions in zygote. What are the mitotic divisions in zygote called? They are called as cleavage divisions. They are called as cleavage divisions. Okay, so question number 41 is done and dusted. Question number 42. Question number 42 is asking you Outer blastomers form and while inner blast. So the cells formed during cleavage are called blastomers. They arrange into two layers, outer and inner. Outer blastomers form so-called trophoblast, which is a tissue responsible for formation of placenta, while inner form inner cell mass or embryoblast, which forms the entire fetus. So there are two regions. So this is, for example, trophoblast. It forms the placenta, and these blastomers form the inner cell mass, which will then result in formation of the entire fetus. Okay. Question number 43. Attachment of blastocyst is called. What is attachment of blastocyst called? How, by the way, what does it attach to? Endometrium. It is called implantation. It is called implantation, which is very necessary for formation of placenta. Question number 44. After implantation, the trophoblast forms villi, and the villi interlock with maternal tissue. And what is it called? What is this interdigitation called? It is what we call as placenta. So anytime somebody asks you interdigitation, what is placenta, we'll say interdigitation of villi and maternal tissue, or fetal and maternal tissue. Question number 45. Hormones of placenta. There's a list. There is very important hormone HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin. There is HCS, human chorionic somatotropin, or what we also call it HCl. There is HCT, human chorionic thyrotropin. There is progesterone. There is estrogen, and most important of all, there is relaxin. Very important. These are the hormones of the placenta. There's an important point I may like to note here. HCG, it is the basis of pregnancy tests. So pregnancy tests which come in the markets, they are based on detection of this HCG hormone. Question number 46. Heart is formed at. So weekly, if we talk about weekly, it is 4 weeks. If we talk about monthly, it is first month. So it is formed at the end of first month, or you can say at the end of 4 weeks. Okay, human heart. So heart is the first organ to be formed at the end of first month or 4 weeks. So 47th question. Movement is observed at. When do you observe the fetus is moving? So remember, it is the fifth month, or what you say, 5 or 20 weeks. So you will observe that fetus is started moving inside. 48th question. First milk is called. Everyone knows, radio stations have been announcing it for years. Colostrum. It is called as colostrum. It's yellowish. It contains a lot of beta carotene. It's called colostrum and fats. Question number 49. Eyelids and eyelashes are formed at. They are formed at the end of 6th month, or what you say, 24 weeks. And question number 50. Parturition is induced by. It's induced by a complex neuroendocrine mechanism called as fetal ejection reflex, which involves both fetus and placenta. And question number 51. It is a free question, bonus question. Total gestation is how much? It is 9 months. It's 9 months. Okay, 9 months plus minus 7 days. It can be 9 months plus minus 7 days. Okay, so what did we learn? The outer blastomers form trophoblast, while inner form inner cell mass. Attachment of blastocyst is called implantation, and interdigitation of the villi and maternal tissue is called placenta. Hormones of this placenta include HCG, HCS, HCT, progesterone, estrogen, and relaxin. And heart is formed at the end of first month or 4 weeks. Movement is observed at the end of 5th month or 20 weeks. And the first milk is called colostrum. It's very nutritious. Eyelids and eyelashes, they are formed at the end of 6th month. And parturition is induced by a phenomenon called fetal ejection reflex. Total gestation time is 9 months and 7 days. So not to forget, a special thank you for all of you. Keep smiling and keep reading.